Hi, today we're talking to Nikki. Morning, Nikki.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. On this nice sunny hot day.
Oh, I know. Too hot already. Anyway, would you like to tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your stroke story and your journey so far, sort of
Yeah.
up to lockdown?
So mine began October the 4th, 2016. In the evening, I got up off the sofa, just felt a bit dizzy and a bit, not quite right. But I didn't have any symptoms. So I went into the bathroom to look in the mirror. Perfectly fine. I could do that. I could smile. I could talk. So I thought, nah, you're fine. Just having a bit of a wobbly. So I went to bed and got up and then went to work the next day. At that point in time, I was working for a mental health charity. But by lunchtime, it was obvious to everyone that things weren't quite right. So I was struggling to walk, that kind of thing. So I went to my GP, which was around the corner. He took a look at me, took my blood pressure, and was straight on the phone calling an ambulance. So it was quite funny because I was being wheeled out of the surgery on the phone to my office saying, I won't be coming back. Being told I'd potentially had a stroke. So, yeah. All changed within half an hour. So yeah, went to the hospital and was within half an hour confirmed that it was an ischemic stroke. So I spent a week in wards, which was a very difficult time because I was the youngest person on the ward. Everyone else was severely ill, so that was quite scary. But at the same time, realizing I wasn't as badly affected as other people. Discharged home. At that point, I was living in a one-bedroom flat on a second floor and with no lift, so you had to use the stairs. And I was told I wasn't allowed to leave the flat for a few weeks. So I had, I can't remember the exact name of the team, but they're like a home support team and they come around every day for 6 weeks. And they were brilliant, saved my life. They really did. So each day we would do different things, exercises, go out for a walk, mental exercises as well, just to try and get my brain functioning again. So for that 6 weeks, I felt fine, as in I was getting plenty of support. But then at the end of that 6 weeks, that's when the support ended. And essentially I then found myself sitting alone in my flat, wondering, what am I going to do next?
And what has just happened as well, I think, is the way we all feel. It happens so quickly and everything is a blur afterwards, isn't it? And you are left wondering about everything.
Yeah, I was scared to go out alone. I was scared I might have another stroke. It was all that anxiety of what if, so over the next few months I tried to, I guess, get well enough so that I could go back to work, which I did. I tried to go back to work in the January and it became evident fairly quickly that wasn't working. And then by March I had to leave my job essentially. It kind of just got to a mutual agreement that this wasn't working. So I decided I needed to take some time off work and, to use an old-fashioned word, convalesce, which we don't really do anymore. So I did. I spent then the next few months just convalescing, looking after myself.
So did they pinpoint a reason for your stroke?
Yes. Well, I mean, obviously they can't tell categorically what caused the stroke, but the opinion agreement, which I felt was right, was it was a combination of stress So work-related stress, personal stress. We also discovered I had high cholesterol, which I think is genetic, because I was and I am a fit, healthy person, in the sense that I'm overweight, I eat sensibly, you know, all these things. So they think that may well have contributed to the stroke. And just, you know, my mum's had a stroke as well. She had hers in her mid-50s as well.
Oh gosh.
So family history.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where we got to, really. We think that's what, you know, that combination just led to that. So now I'm
had to work on your cholesterol levels then.
Yes, so I attended a wonderful course for that, and I'm now on statins. Last year, I then developed or came close to developing type 2 diabetes. So again, I've had to go on a course, learn to moderate my diet, and now I'm back into the green zone, so I don't have to take any medication. But again, you know, what led to that happening? So I've had to modify my diet severely. I've had to manage my health and keep managing it to stay fit and well. I have to keep my stress levels down, otherwise, and this is one of the things we identified later on, is my brain starts to shut down.
Oh, interesting.
So, you know, I struggle to think, I struggle to find the words. I get, you know, I start to kind of feel very anxious. And I think that was the other thing I noticed after the stroke, is my mental health deteriorated because I just lost all my confidence.
Yeah, and I think you try and get back to the old you, don't you, and all the things you used to be able to do.
Yep.
But when that fatigue kicks in and your brain does start to shut down, you can't fight it anymore. It took me a while to realize you can't fight it. You can't keep going and it'll be all right. You just get to a point. There was one day we were tidying out the garage, which is something we've done often over the years, having two boys that just sort of dump everything in the garage. And we just kept going like we normally do. But it got to the point, you know, I was getting tired, but just thought, keep going, keep going, keep going. And we sat down to eat our dinner, and I couldn't even lift a knife and fork. I just hit that brick wall that I wasn't even bothered about dinner. It was like someone had switched me off, or the batteries had gone completely, you know, run down kind of thing. And you just learn from there. And my husband said, you know, right, that's a learning point for us as well. We've got to, you know, watch we don't get to that point and what have you. But it's very hard sometimes, because you know you have to have a rest, but you think, oh, I'm not an old woman. But you do have to have that rest, or it all goes a bit haywire. And like you say about the words, when I get tired, my speech goes, the words don't come. They're up there, but they won't come out of there.
Yeah.
Or if they come out the mouth, they're totally gobbledygook. Yeah. And everyone's still like, the what? What are you on about?
I mean, the chronic fatigue really hit in as well. That for a while that was quite bad. I remember during the first year after the stroke, I was sleeping like 10 hours a night, which is really unusual for me. I'm normally a 6 to 7 hour person. Mm-hmm. I used to be able to be on the go constantly all day. I had many jobs, you know, I used to volunteer, I used to have, you know, all sorts of different responsibilities. I've had to let them all go. I just find now that I can maybe only achieve 50% of what I used to achieve. And that's really difficult for someone who's used to being on the go all the time.
Yes.
And that, you know, if I spot the signs, I can't ignore them.
No. And it takes you a while to come to terms with the whole scenario, doesn't it? But I think once you do, it does stand you in good stead, and you know your limitations. So, you know, you might have a long to-do list one week, but you know that you can't do it all on a Monday and Tuesday. So you've got to split it, you know, over the week. And that's the way you think, right, I know I can cope with this. I can get it done, kind of thing. And I think that makes you feel a bit better as well, doesn't it?
Well, it's hot weather at the moment. Yeah. Yeah. That was one of the biggest things for me to struggle with, was I'm never going to be that person that I was pre-stroke. And luckily I managed to attend some mental health therapy. I got some therapy through the NHS, and it took me a long time to accept that, to work through and acknowledge that, you know, there's a new me, and that's the person I've got to get used to and accept and live with. And the more I fight it, it's just not going to happen. And that you have that choice. You can either move forward with what you have and work with that, or just do nothing.
Yeah.
And well, you can probably guess which one I chose.
Yeah. Would you recommend some therapy for stroke survivors?
Yes, I mean, I work in mental health anyway, so I was already aware of, and you know, the services available. So you get plenty of support for your physical issues, but when it comes to your mental health and the impact that the strokes had on that, it's often not recognised, or people who are maybe not so forward in acknowledging and saying, I need some help and support with my mental health. You know, it's that typical thing that we all do. Oh, I'll cope, I'm fine. And we're not. And I think more and more now, the services are there, you've just got to find them. That's what I found. So, you know, I made those phone calls and said, I want some therapy, and eventually I got it.
And that's wrong in a way, because you feel that it should be offered to you. You know, they should say, there's this you can access if you need it, or that you can access, and you might not need it straight away, but in time, you know, it might do you some good. You know, and I think the mental health side of it, definitely. And just in general, like somebody explaining to you about fatigue and things like that. And obviously, because that's going to have an impact on your mental health. Everything does, really. All leads back to that, doesn't it?
For some people it's depression, for other people it's anxiety, health anxiety, agoraphobia. There's all different types of mental illnesses that can affect people depending on their particular circumstances. And for me, it was very much a loss of self-confidence. I lost my confidence, and I was angry. I was angry at what had happened, and I needed someone to help me work through that.
And you're not the only one that feels like that. I think we all go through those emotions. You know, it's like you said, you're looking for the old you, but the old you's gone, and you know, you need some help to work through the new you and the new future and the new normal kind of thing. So so if anybody out there, you know, is struggling, seek out some mental health therapy and you know, get some help.
Yeah, and it is there. You just have to find, and you have to ask your GP, or go back to, you know, whichever trust you're with and ask them. Obviously you've got the various charities that are around that you can seek support with, but it's just often it's not obvious that it's there.
Yes.
Which is a shame. I think once you get the support you need, whether it's a support group or one-to-one therapy, friends, family, or, you know, different strokes, etc., once you get that support, it makes life so much easier.
Definitely.
Then you realise you're not alone.
That's it. And I think that peer-to-peer support that we have at different strokes is essential. I mean, I know how it made me feel an awful lot better to realise that I wasn't on my own dealing with this. And, you know, I know a lot of other people feel that way, and it's just, you know, get you over a few hurdles, I think.
Especially, I think, with being younger. You know, if you're in a situation where you have to work, if you've got a family to look after, if you've got responsibilities, then it's so difficult trying to cope with that and everything else that's going on. And often we try and do that. Well, I'm a single person. I now have a fiance, but at the time I was single, and it's just, you know, trying to deal with it on your own is just impossible. Whereas, you know, 4 years later, I'm living in a different place now. I have my own home. I have a new job. I work for the NHS, and you know, it's a completely different life to what it was 4 years ago.
Yeah. So we're going to come up to lockdown now. What was lockdown for you? Are you in a house on your own?
So yes, I live alone. My fiance comes and stays at weekends, although we did live together during the total lockdown. So at the moment, I'm Monday to Friday, I'm alone. It's been difficult, I have to say. I'm not going to say it wasn't. I think having people that you can talk to is essential. I think then continuing to monitor your own health, because you just feel totally isolated. I think my neighbours have been really good support as well. And not everyone knows I've had a stroke, but it's just knowing that I can talk to people if I need to, that support's there. So, you know, I do keep in contact with my friends regularly using Zoom, etc. And then if I feel that things are getting difficult, I don't ignore that. So I know we're not supposed to go to our GP anymore, but, you know, there are the ways of getting support if you need it. And I'm still working. I wasn't furloughed, so I've been working throughout the whole period of lockdown, but I'm lucky enough that I can work from home. I think we're starting to go back into the office in the next few weeks, but just, you know, for a few hours. And it was interesting as well, because I was ill back in March. At the beginning of March, I was ill, and I thought it was just a viral infection. We were already at that point within the trust that I work with, we were already identifying that people needed to isolate. So I did come home and I isolated for 2 weeks, just to be safe. So anyway, after the 2 weeks, I came back to work. It wasn't severe enough to need medical treatment, but basically I spent 2 weeks in bed, you know, thinking that I just had something wrong, you know, chest infection or something. And then a few weeks back, I was offered an antibodies test, which NHS staff can have access to, and it came back positive. So I've had coronavirus.
Wow. You're our first. So how did you feel when you were ill? Did you have the typical symptoms as they were at the time?
No. So I didn't have a cough. I had a fever of 102 for a few days. I felt unwell. But it was just like a normal, what you'd think was a normal viral infection. So, you know, I did say I isolated, but I just looked after myself at home, took some, you know, across the counter medication. And just, if it got worse, I would have gone to the doctors, but it didn't get worse. So luckily, you know, I feel very relieved in a sense that it didn't get any worse. I'm also lucky that I've not had anyone in the family affected by this. So yeah, it was weird finding out. It doesn't change anything because I still follow all the rules, because you can still carry it on your hands and things like that. I still wear a mask when I go out because it's not obvious to anyone else. So I'm still following all the rules.
Well, I think that's what we all need to be doing. And, you know, there's various different lockdowns happening all over the country again as people get complacent about it. And you can't get complacent about it. You know, I don't think, you know, we don't know enough about this to really sort of dismiss it in hand and what have you. And we certainly don't want any more people getting ill or anything like that just because we've got complacent about it. We've come so far, and like you say, we've all been through lockdown, which, you know, was different for everybody. I'd myself, my husband, 2 boys at home. The youngest is 17, so he's just finished year 12. My oldest one was able to work from home. Luckily, I say luckily, my husband went out to work every day because he works for a company that supplies NHS with medical equipment. So he was classed as a key worker. So he was going out to a very empty office, but occasionally having to go to hospitals and things. But that sort of kept one of us out the house kind of thing. And like you know, we kept working through, but it was a strange old time because you could only go out to do your shopping.
Yeah.
And that was it. You know, it's very, very, very strange. I don't know what I would have done had the children been younger and had to homeschool them. I think that would have finished me off. Luckily, my youngest got lots of work from school, and he's quite motivated to sort of get on and do it himself and everything. But it had an impact on everybody. My oldest boy couldn't see his girlfriend and what have you. But, you know, I think you mentioned it earlier, working with Zoom. You know, the kids have got FaceTime and things like that. Imagine if this had happened when we were in our early 20s. Well, I dread to think what it would have been like. You know, we wouldn't have had that communication, and people need that communication with older relatives and things that they couldn't see and everything.
I think that's where I have had it's been difficult for me because my mum lives in a dementia care home, which is not around here. It's an hour drive away, and it's been really difficult trying to cope with that because obviously we've not been allowed to visit her, and she doesn't really understand what's going on. Her memory's shot, so every day we're having to explain to her what's going on. And then she hears the news and she gets confused. So I did manage to get her dementia mobile phone, so she can call me when she needs to. But that's been worrying. They had 2 outbreaks at the care home. She's been tested several times. She has COPD as well, so she has underlying health conditions as well as the dementia. So that's been really worrying. There's nothing I can do.
No, we've all just had to ride it through. Our parents are up in Scotland, so we're kind of used to having periods where we don't see them. It's not like, you know, my mum lives round the corner and I see her every Tuesday or what have you. So for us, it wasn't too different from that impact. But now we're coming out of it and we think, can we go and see them? Should we go and see them?
Yeah.
And you kind of feel frightened to do anything because I kind of think if we go up and we see them, we're down here in England where all these lockdowns and outbreaks are happening. we go up to Scotland and see them and something happens to them, are we going to feel terrible? You know, is mum going to feel bad because she can't hug her grandsons and what have you? It's all a bit of a conundrum just now. But I know I'm not going to Spain, so that's good.
No. We'll be holidaying in this country this year. Which, yeah, I'm quite looking forward to it, actually. So, you know, a cottage in somewhere in the country will be quite nice. Because I mean, this is the thing, I haven't had a holiday this year because I've been working. So
yes, that's the thing. It's you know, we do all need a break, even if it's just a break from working kind of thing. But it's what do we do? Do we go out for day trips? Do we book somewhere? Apparently Cornwall's all booked up already and what have you. And you know, with these local lockdowns happening, it's you know, it's one of these things. But I'm sure we'll all get through it and get out the other side. So yeah,
it's going to be an interesting end to the year to see what happens.
Yes.
And I don't think there's going to be many more. I don't think life will go back to normal this year, if it ever will.
No.
I think from a point of view of someone living, and this is the way I describe myself, you know, I'm living with a disability, even though it's not obvious to everyone. You know, the lasting permanent effects of a stroke, that the impact that we've locked down on that for some people has been quite difficult, because I mean, I for example, I was shopping for my elderly neighbours during the lockdown, but to be able to get to the shops when you can't use public transport, or not to be able to go out if you're someone who has the shield. I mean, it's very complicated if you've got multiple health conditions. And then on top of that, you can't, you know, what do you do? If you like to get out to go for a walk and now you find you can't do that because you can't get the bus to wherever you need to go.
Yeah.
The train or whatever it might be. Or you rely on other people to take you somewhere, and you can't do that anymore.
Yeah, it's very difficult. And you know, I know a lot of our stroke survivors have suffered from not being able to go to physio appointments and hospital appointments, or they've had their stroke during lockdown, and basically the hospitals have tried to get them out of the hospital environment as quickly as possible, so they maybe haven't had the help they would normally have and what have you. But hopefully we can catch up with some of that and help people through. You know, hence we started our online exercise sessions in lockdown, and we've got Tai Chi on the go now. And we've had one of our trustees is a stroke survivor, but also a GP, and she gave several talks at the start about different aspects of everything. And we've had some Ask the Experts on, so we hope to continue with that. Various different things. We had one about carers last week, and I think we've got another one about carers, because that's another aspect. You know, we've all forgotten about those that are caring for us stroke survivors in lockdown as well. It's a, you know, different side to things as well. So it's certainly something none of us ever predicted. No. And I still struggle to believe that, you know, what has just happened. What happened between March and now? It's August tomorrow. That's just crazy.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy. But anyway, thank you very much for talking to us, Niki. And I hope you enjoy your summer, you get a good break and everything, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.